Hello everyone, welcome to Spotlight Heaven. You'll be listening to the audiobook of Atomic Habits by James Clear. This book is best if you are an entrepreneur or a new YouTuber and you think you're doing something wrong or this is very hard. Then listen to this audiobook and develop new habits to become a successful YouTuber or an entrepreneur.
The second law, make it attractive. Chapter 8, how to make a habit irresistible. In 1940s, a Dutch scientist named Nico Tinbergen performed a series of experiments that transform our understanding of what motivates us. Tinbergen, who eventually won a Nobel Prize for his work, was investigating herring gulls, the gray and white bird often seen flying along the seashores of North America. Adult herring gulls have a small red dot on their beaks. Timbergurn noticed that newly hatched chicks would peck this spot whenever they wanted food. To begin one experiment, he created a collection of fake cardboard beaks, just a head without a body. When the parents had flown away, he went over to the nest and offered these dummies beaks to the chicks. The beaks were obviously fake, and he assumed the baby bird would reject them altogether. However, when the tiny girls saw the red spot on the cardboard beak, they pegged away just as if they were attracted to their own mother. They had a clear preference for those red spots, as if they had been genetically programmed at birth. Soon, Timbergirl discovered that the bigger the red spot, the faster the chicks pegged. Eventually, he created a beak with three large red dots on it. When he placed it over the nest, the baby birds went crazy with delight. They pecked at the little red patches as if it was the greatest beak they had ever seen. Timbergren and his colleague discovered similar behavior in other animals. For example, the gray-lag goose is a ground nesting bird. Occasionally, as the mother moves around on the nest, one of the eggs will roll out and settle on the grass nearby. Whenever this happens, the goose will waddle over the egg and use its beak and neck to pull it back into the nest. Timbergren discovered that the goose will pull any nearby round object, just as a billiard ball or a light bulb, back into the nest. The bigger the object, the greater the response. One goose even made a tremendous effort to roll a volleyball back and sit on top. Like the baby girls automatically looking at the red dot, the gray-legged goose was following an instinctive rule. When I see a round object nearby, I must roll it back into the nest. The bigger the round object, the harder I should try to get it. It's like the brain of each animal is preloaded with certain rules for behavior, and when it comes across an exaggerated version of that rule, it lightens up like a Christmas tree. Scientists refer to these exaggerated cues as supernormal stimuli. The supernormal stimuli is a heightened version of reality, like a beak with three red dots or an egg the size of volleyball, and it elicits a strong response than usual. Humans are also prone to fall for exaggerated version of reality, like a beak with three dots or an egg the size of a volleyball, and it elicits a strong response than usual. Humans are also prone to fall for exaggerated version of reality. Junk food, for example, drives our reward system into frenzy. After spending hundreds of thousands of years foraging for food in the wild, the human brain has evolved to place a higher value on salt, sugar, and fat. Such foods are often calorie dense, and they were quite rare when our ancient ancestors were roaming the savannah. When you don't know where your next meal is coming from, eating as much as possible is an excellent strategy for survival. Today, however, we live in a calorie rich environment. Food is abundant, but your brain continues to crave it like it is scarce. Placing a high value on salt, sugar, and fat is no longer advantageous to our health. But the craving persists because the brain's reward center have not changed for approximately 50,000 years. The modern food industry relies on stretching our Paleolithic instinct beyond their evolutionary purpose. Primary goal of food science is to create products that are more attractive to consumers. Nearly every food in a bag, box, or jar has been enhanced in some way, if only with additional flavoring. Companies spend millions of dollars to discover the most satisfying level of crunch in a potato chips or the perfect amount of fizz in a soda. Entire departments are dedicated to optimizing how a product feels in your mouth, quality known as oral sensation. French fries, for example, are potent combination, golden brown and crunchy on the outside, light and smooth on the inside. Other processed food enhance dynamic contrast, which refer to the item with a combination of sensation like crunchy and creamy. Imagine the gooiness of melted cheese on the top of a crispy pizza crust, or the crunch of an Oreo cookie combined with a smooth center. With natural, unprocessed foods, you tend to experience the same sensation over and over. How's that seventh bite of kale taste? After a few minutes, your brain loses interest and you begin to feel full. But foods that are high in dynamics contrast keep the experience novel and interesting, encouraging you to eat more. Ultimately, such strategies enable food scientists to find the bliss point for each product, the precise combination of salt, sugar, and fat that excites your brain and keeps you coming back for more. The result, of course, is that you overeat because hyperpalatable foods are more attractive to the human brain. As Stephen Garnett, a neuroscientist who specializes in eating behavior and obesity, says, we have gotten too good at pushing our own button. The modern food industry and the overeating habit it has spawned is just one example of the second law of behavioral change. Make it attractive. The more attractive an opportunity is, the more likely it is to become habit forming. Look around. Society is filled with highly engineered versions of reality that are more attractive than the world our ancestors evolved in. Stores features mannequins with exaggerated hips and breasts to sell clothes. Social media delivers more likes and praise in a few minutes than we could get in the office or at home. Online porn splices together stimulates the senses at a rate that would be impossible to replicate in real life. Advertisements are created with a combination of ideal lighting, professional makeup, and Photoshop edits. Even the model doesn't look like the person in the final image. They are the supernormal stimuli of our modern world. They exaggerate features that are naturally attractive to us, and our instincts go wild as a result, driving us into excessive shopping habits, social media habits, porn habits, eating habits, and many others. If history serves as a guide, the opportunities of the future will be more attractive than those of today. The trend is for rewards becoming more concentrated and stimuli to become more enticing. Junk food is a common concentrated form of calories than natural food. Hard liquor is more concentrated form of alcohol than beer. Video games are more concentrated form of play than board games. Compared to nature, these pleasure-packed experiences are hard to resist. We have the brain of our ancestors, but temptation they never had to face. If you want to increase the odds that a behavior will occur, then you need to make it attractive. Throughout our discussion of the second law, our goal is to learn how to make our habits irresistible. While it is not possible to transform every habit in a supernormal stimulus, we can make any habit more enticing. To do this, we must start by understanding what a craving is and how it works. We began by examining a biological signature that all habits share, the dopamine spike. The dopamine driven feedback loop. Scientists can track the precise moment a craving occurs by measuring a neurotransmitter called dopamine. The importance of dopamine becomes apparent in 1954 when the neuroscientists James Old and Peter Mindler ran an experiment that reveals the neurological process behind craving and desire. By implanting electrodes in the brain of the rats, the researchers blocked the release of dopamine. To the surprise of the scientists, the rats lose all will to live. They wouldn't eat, they wouldn't have sex, they wouldn't crave anything. Within a few days, the animal died of thirst. In follow up studies, other scientists also inhibited the dopamine releasing parts of the brain. By this time, they squirted little droplets of sugar into the mouths of the dopamine eaten rats. Their little rat face lit up with pleasurable grins from the tasty substance. Even though dopamine was blocked, they liked the sugar just as before. They just didn't want it anymore. The ability to experience pleasure remained, but without dopamine, desire died. And without desire, action stopped. When other researchers reversed the process and flooded the reward system of the brain with dopamine, animal performs habit at breakneck speed. In one study, mice received a powerful hit of dopamine each time they poked their nose in the box. Within minutes, the mice developed craving so strong that they began poking their nose into the box 800 times per hour. Humans are not so different. The average slot machine player will spin the wheel 600 times per hour. Habits are a dopamine driven feedback loop. Every behavior that is highly habit forming, taking drugs, eating junk food, playing video games, browsing social media, is associated with high level of dopamine. The same can be said for our most basic habitual behavior, like eating food, drinking water, having sex, and interacting socially. For years, scientists assumed dopamine was all about pleasure, but now we know it plays a central role in many neurological processes, including motivation, learning and memory, punishment and aversion, and voluntary movement. When it comes to habit, the key takeaway is this: dopamine is released not only when you are experiencing pleasure, but also when you anticipate it. Gambling addicts have a dopamine spike right before they place a bet, not after they win. Cocaine addicts get a surge of dopamine when they see the powder, not after they take it. Whenever you predict that an opportunity will be rewarding, your levels of dopamine spikes in anticipation. And whenever dopamine rise, so does your motivation to act. It is the anticipation of a reward, not the fulfillment of it, that gets us to the action. Interestingly, the reward system that is activated in the brain when you receive a reward is the same system that is activated to anticipate a reward. This is the reason anticipation of an experience can often feel better than the attainment of it. As a child, thinking about Christmas morning can be better than opening the gift. As an adult, daydreaming about an upcoming vacation can be more enjoyable than actually being on vacation. Scientists refer to this as a difference between wanting and liking. Your brain has far more neutral circuitry allocated for wanting rewards than for liking them. The wanting center in the brains are large: the brainstem, the nuclear accumbens, the ventral tegmental area, the dorsal striatum, the amygdala, and the portions of the prefrontal cortex. By comparison, the liking center of the brains are much smaller. They are often referred to as hedonic hotspots and are distributed the tiny islands throughout the brain. For instance, researchers have found that 100% of the nucleus accumbens is activated during wanting. Meanwhile, only 10% of the structure is activated during liking. The fact that the brain allocates so much precious space to the region responsible for craving and desire provides further evidence of the crucial role that process the play. Desire is the engine that drives behavior. Every action is taken because of the anticipation that precedes it. It is the craving that leads to the response. These insights reveal the importance of the second law of behavioral change. We need to make our habits attractive because it is the expectation of the rewarding experience that motivates us to act in the first place. This is where a strategy known as temptation bundling comes into play. How to use temptation bundling to make your habits more attractive. Ronan Byrne, an electrical engineering student in Dublin, Ireland, enjoyed watching Netflix, but he also knew that he should exercise more often than he did. Putting his engineering skills to use, Brian hacked his stationary bike and connected it to his laptop and television. Then he wrote a computer program that would allow Netflix to run only if he was cycling at a certain speed. If he slowed down for too long, whatever show he was watching would pause until he started pedaling again. He was, in the word of one fan, eliminating obesity one Netflix binge at a time. He was also employing temptation bundling to make his exercise habit more attractive. Temptation bundling works by linking an action you want to do with an action you need to do. In Burns' case, he bundled watching Netflix with riding his stationary bike. Businesses are masters at temptation bundling. For instance, when the American Broadcasting Company, more commonly known as ABC, launched its Thursday night television lineup for the 2014 till 2015 season, they promoted temptation bundling on a massive scale. Every Thursday, the company would air three shows created by screenwriter Shonda Rhimes: Grey's Anatomy, Scandal, and How to Get Away with Murder. They branded it as TGIT on ABC. Stands for Thank God It's Thursday. In addition to promoting the show, ABC encouraged viewers to make popcorn, drink red wine, and enjoy the evening. Doug Kubert, head of scheduling for ABC, described the idea behind the campaign. We see Thursday night as a viewership opportunity, with either couples or women by themselves who want to sit down and escape and have fun and drink red wine and have some popcorn. The brilliance of this strategy is that ABC was associating the things they needed viewers to do and with the activities their viewers already wanted to do. Over time, people began to connect watching ABC with feelings relaxed and entertained. If you drink red wine and eat popcorn at 8 p.m. every Thursday, then eventually 8 p.m. on Thursday means relaxation and entertainment. The rewards gets associated with the cue, and the habits of turning on the television becomes more attractive. You're more likely to find a behavior attractive if you get to do it one of the favorite things at the same time. Perhaps you want to hear about the latest celebrity gossip, but you need to get in shape. Using temptation bundling, you could only read the tabloid and watch reality shows at the gym. Maybe you want to get a pedicure, but you need to clean out your mail box. Solution: only get a pedicure while processing overdue work emails. Temptation bundling is one way to apply a psychology theory known as Premack's principle, named after the work of the professor David Premack. The principle states that along the way, you can even combine temptation bundling with the habit stacking strategy we discussed in chapter 5 to create a set of rules to guide your behavior. The habit stacking plus temptation bundling formula is: first, after current habit, I will habit I need. Second, after habit I need, I will habit I want. If you want to read the news but you need to express more gratitude, first, after I get my morning coffee, I will say one thing I'm grateful for that happened yesterday, which is need. Second, after I say one thing I'm grateful for, I will read the news, which is want. If you want to watch sports but you need to make sales calls, first, after I get back from my lunch break, I will call three potential clients. Need. Second, after I call three potential clients, I will check ESPN once. If you want to check Facebook, but you need to exercise more, first, after I pull out my phone, I will do 10 burpees. Need. Second, after I do 10 burpees, I will check Facebook. Want. The hope is that eventually you will look forward to calling 3 clients or doing 10 burpees because it means you to get to read the latest news sports or check Facebook. During the thing you need to do means you get to do the things you want to do. Began this chapter by discussing supernormal stimuli, which are a heightened version of reality that increase our desire to take actions. Temptation building is one way to create a heightened version of any habits by connecting it with something you really want. Engineering truly irresistible habit is a hard task, but this simple strategy can be employed to make nearly any habit more attractive than it would be otherwise. Chapter summary. The second law of behavioral change is to make it attractive. The more attractive an opportunity is, the more likely it to become a habit forming. Habits are a dopamine driven feedback loop. When dopamine rises, so does our motivation to act. Anticipation of the reward, not the fulfillment of it, that gets you to the action. The greater the anticipation, the greater the dopamine spike. Temptation bundling is one way to make your habits more attractive. The strategy is to pair up an action with you want to do with an action you need to do.
Thank you for watching. Please like, share, and comment. And for the next chapter, please subscribe to Spotlight Heaven.